Welcome to Traveling with John. I am so sorry about the delay. I was trying to work this out, the connection and everything. I did one the other day, as you probably seen, it was just a test. But anyway, here we go. We're live. First time ever doing a live. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me. We're going to talk about cruising from your favorite port. So, let me just give you a little reason why I'm doing this today. Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year if you're watching it next year in 2026. The reason why I decided to do this live stream now is I've been thinking about it for pretty much months. And I just kept putting it off for whatever reason. And, now it's finally happening. So, anyway, welcome to the channel. I want to thank everyone for watching the videos that I've put out so far. Cruise ship tours, casino tours, hotels, places that we've eaten prior or after our cruise. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you that. The reason why, I decided to do this has been growing. I'm happy with the the growth. Thank you for watching. So, anyway, let's talk about your favorite cruise ports. I'll just, give you mine. I have a lot. So, just a little backstory. I've only cruised with Carnival, and we have 17, well, I have 17 cruises, all with Carnival, and they have been with quite a few ships. Let's start with my first one. The first one was the Carnival Fantasy, and that was in 2004. And then there was a long break. So then I cruised the Imagination, the Inspiration. They were all out of California since, that's where we reside in Northern California. Um, so most of our trips have been out of California, but we love cruising out of Long Beach. So we've been on the Radiance, the Panorama recently, and the Firenze. So we got the Firenze coming up in about a month and a half, actually in February. Then this will be our second time cruising on the Firenze, and then it's supposedly going to New York. So, folks in New York, enjoy the Firenze while you have it. You have the other ship, the Venetia, Venice. I can't even pronounce right now, but you know what I'm talking about. So you have the ship that's there, and so you're going to get a great ship out of the Firenze. Let's see. So Long Beach, we've cruised out of New Orleans, great port to stay a few days before, a few days after your cruise to go, check out the French Quarter, the other parts of Louisiana, which we've done. Stayed. There's plenty to do, plenty to eat, plenty to drink while you're there. It's a little busy, but there's other parts outside of New Orleans that are less hectic. Let's see where else. San Francisco, which is our pretty much home base where we don't have to do any flying. And we have a cruise that will be going out of San Francisco um, next August. And so we've done that departure port before. It's one of our favorites, like I said, because it's no flying at all. Um, we just drive to San Francisco, which is on a good day is about half an hour, depending on what time we have to be there. And then let me turn this light off because it's in my eye. It's kind of bright. So anyway, this is a little better. So we we've cruised out of San Francisco on the Miracle, and that took us to Mexico, Ensenada, um, Catalina Island. So that's like the Baja cruise, and then out of that port, it also goes to Alaska for the longer cruises, which are like the 14 days. We haven't done that one. Um, we've that's one of our favorite ports to cruise out of, which is great. Also, another port um, to go out of, our favorite is Port Canaveral. We've done the Vista recently out of Port Canaveral. Ship, it's a good ship. We were supposed to cruise on it when it originally came out, and the cruise got canceled due to propulsion issues. If you're into Carnival ships, you know about that. And so we were supposed to reschedule again like another few years later, and it was another thing with the propulsion issues. So we finally got on it this year back in November, and it was a great ship. Um, Not my favorite. So where else? Tampa, we've cruised out of Tampa. We've cruised out of Baltimore on the Pride. That was a few cruises. We did the Journeys cruises, which are the longer duration cruises. And those cruises were the first time we were on a Pride, loved the Pride. We got another one coming up in 2027, the beginning of 2027, which is Journeys Cruise, which will be 14 days also. But that cruise will be a bucket list trip for ports that some we've been to, um, and then some other ones we haven't been to. It is sailing to Antigua, Barbados, um, Dominica, Tortola. Um, it's so many ports. St. Martin, St. Lucia. Uh, Give me a minute. I'm just going off the top of my head, but it's a lot of sea days. I think it's 4 days going, 4 days back, and then in between we hit port after port after port. So it's going to be kind of exhausting for the most part because whenever we cruise, if it's to a place that we never been, we schedule excursions through Carnival, and which is the safest way to go because you're guaranteed not to be left. And we normally do like historic tours, learning about the location that we're visiting, so we can get a better glimpse of that 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 country that we're visiting, with a little mix of cooking or drinking, but the gist is learning the history of that particular port, which is fun. So yeah, we've done the Pride twice, and that's out of Baltimore, and we're going to do it again. And because um, we're flying across country from California to Baltimore, we usually arrive a day early to Baltimore to be there on time and not get left or run into any kind of traveling situations such as delays, cancellations, and whatnot. So um, kind of excited about that coming up again. So Baltimore, the Pride is another great port to cruise from, especially if you love to eat. There's plenty of um, like seafood places you can eat. You can get your lobster rolls, your your lobster, your chowder. So they have a lot of fun activities to do in the port of Baltimore. And if you're into sports, if you want to stay, if the timing is right, you can catch any like the Baltimore Ravens play there, real close to the port. So there's always a lot of activity. It's really historic, and so a lot to do there. Let's see. Another favorite port is Bermuda. Bermuda is great. We went there probably about 6 years ago. And I want to say it's one of our favorite ports because it's beautiful beaches, pink sand beaches, the history, the food. And I loved it because um, there wasn't any kind of like hassling and haggling and all that aggressive interaction with people selling their wares like you run into in most of the Caribbean locations and the Mexican locations where they're trying to make money, so they can be quite aggressive with their sales pitch. So, but Bermuda, you don't run into that at all, which is really great, lovely. So yeah, Bermuda is great, but I want to say our favorite port is San Juan, Puerto Rico. Now, I'm sure many of you have been to Puerto Rico for a stop, but Carnival used to, cruise out of San Juan regularly, and I think they took a break, but I think they're gonna go back to it, and I believe it was because all the storms that Puerto Rico has had in the past that shut down a lot of stuff for a long time. But Puerto Rico's back. We were just there in November. We were there in November. So that was great. There's so much to do. Old San Juan, you have your nightlife, old San Juan restaurants. It was a place where Pina Colada was created, which is not my favorite. I'm not really a coconut drinker, so I don't do that, but it was good. But Puerto Rico is a great port to stay before your cruise or after your cruise, and there's a lot to do. There's a lot of great hotels. If you're into gambling, they have casinos that you can gamble. There's so much to do. Bioluminescent tours where you get in the water and your movement, you get to see like the water at night change like a glowish white color as you move through the waters. So Puerto Rico, another great port to cruise out of. Whatever cruise line you tend to take, and that was a great one. And then let's go back to another great port, Hawaii, or ports in Hawaii. So I used to work for an airline, and because I worked for the airline, they had many. We had free flights, so I've been there many times. But in 2019, we took a Journeys cruise, which is a 14-day cruise from California to Hawaii. And so with that cruise, it stopped to the Big Island. Um, oh, let's see, Hilo, several of the islands in Hawaii we visited, and it was a great trip. If you never cruised out California to Hawaii, it's an experience. If you ever watched The Greatest Catch, it's choppy the first 3 days of cruising. It's like real rough. So we left out of California. The weather was great. The water was smooth. But as you proceed into the Pacific towards Hawaii, it's so many different currents and waves. It went from smooth sailing to very rocky, and you noticed, like, when you're moving about the ship, people were swaying, and you blinked and they were putting like sickness bags everywhere because people that weren't used to the rough Pacific Ocean were getting sick. And so it was crazy. But once you get closer to the islands, like on the third day, it starts to smooth out. And then when you get like within to the islands of Hawaii, it's smooth. It's beautiful. It's calm. And so, because we were on the Splendor, which is out of Australia right now, beautiful ship, great ship. If you ever been on the Splendor, you can agree with me. I don't know if they'll ever. Well, I'm pretty sure they'll bring it back because they usually do repositioning cruises with all of their ships through all the cruise lines where um, certain times of the year they'll take it from one location and move it to like the Mediterranean, or they'll move it to Florida, or they'll move it to different parts of the United States. And this allows people to experience that ship. And then sometimes they'll do like dry dock. So dry dock is where they'll schedule maintenance for each of their ships that are required by law. And when they do this maintenance, um, they'll have to take the ship out of service. So they'll do a one way, which is called repositioning, to get it to the dry dock. So you'll find great rates for a repositioning cruise. Let me give you a little advice. Don't don't take the repositioning cruise when it's going into dry dock. Now we've experienced that in both ways. Going into dry dock and once it's coming out of dry dock. So when it's going into dry dock, it's a pain. It's a pain because they're getting ready to put this ship out of service. So the crew will start doing like a lot of work. So there'll be a lot of drilling and sanding and painting. So if you ever experience the paint that you normally have, which is latex water-based paint, it's breathable. You can breathe it. But if you smell like oil-based paints, it's rough. It gives you headaches because it's so strong, the oils. And then if you add the layer of marine paint, because this is a special paint for being in the water for boats, it's even, elevated. The scent is elevated even higher. And so it can be a bummer because a lot of the areas will be closed for them getting ready to go into dry dock. So opposite of that, when it's coming out of dry dock, it's perfect. It's perfect because the ship is done. Um, the crew is not doing major work while the ship is at sea, and you get a great rate because they're, moving this ship to another location, which can benefit you if you just want to go one way, like you're flying from, in our case, we flew from Baltimore and the ship was going to Florida. So, um, in doing that, it was one way. So we flew to Baltimore and we sailed Panama Canal and other islands. And then we came back to Florida. So we actually had to fly from Florida back to California, which was great, instead of, you know, Baltimore. So repositioning cruises are great if you're getting them after they come out of dry dock. All right, so let's see another favorite or another great cruise port or port in general that we have cruised out of. No, we haven't cruised out of this one, but you can let me know if you've done it. Carnival has stopped, I believe, cruising out of South Carolina, Charleston area. So Charleston is we've been to Charleston a lot, just doing land-based vacations, visiting family. It's really great port to cruise out of. And the best way I can say what does Charleston remind you of, and don't take it the wrong way if you're from New Orleans, but it's the cleaner New Orleans. It has that same French um, charm, like the French Quarter, but a lot um, cleaner, and it's just more, in my opinion, more beautiful. So if you cruise on the other lines that go out of Charleston, or if you haven't and you are thinking about it, do it. Do it. Cruise out of Charleston. There's so much to do. Pre-cruise, post-cruise, great hotels, affordable. Um, they got a lot of great markets, a lot of tours you can take, wineries and whatnot, where you can rent a car and drive around, or it's very very easy to get around. So yeah, that's some of the favorite ports that we have cruised out of, that we enjoyed cruising out of. And I think let's see what else we can talk about. Oh, speaking of which, let's talk about luggage protectors. So you get this luggage tag you print up. This is from the Vista when we were on it. But a lot of people tend to, like new cruisers, they'll take this and they'll staple this um, boarding tag, luggage tag to their luggage. But if you're cruising during this time of year, it's raining, it's wet. So you can go to Amazon and purchase these plastic luggage um, tag protectors, and it's so convenient. It's no hassle. Get as many as you need. You slide this luggage tag into the plastic holder, and you seal it at the top. And it comes with metal cables that you attach to your handles of your luggage. And don't put these on until you get to the cruise port before you hand the luggage off to the porters there. But don't put them on if you're flying to your cruise port, because it'll just get destroyed. But just wait till you get to the port, place these on, give the bags to the porters, and they'll make sure your bags get there. So it's a wonderful thing to have. They're fairly inexpensive. I think they're, depending on how many you want to get. I think we have 4, and I think it was like under $10, and they last for years. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. They last many, many, many years. They're really durable, protective, um, and stress free. So let's see what else. Let's talk about lanyards. Now we have a ton of lanyards, tons of lanyards. This is a lanyard, and I don't know if you can see it. These are the one of the little hobbies that I have. You get the little sail pins from each cruise, and I believe it's when you hit platinum. Once you hit platinum, you can start. Now, don't quote me on that. I believe it's anytime you're in the VIFP club, you'll receive these pins with the year, the ship that you're selling on. So you get to collect them. The last one was from the Miracle. This one is from the Pride, and that was in 2019. And then the recent one is the Vista from this year. So I collect these, and then what else I tend to do is collect the different islands and countries that we tend to visit. So you have, Ensenada, you have Saint Martin, Costa Rica, St. Croix, Aruba, St. Kitts, Barbados. These are all the ports that we have visited over the years. Turks and Caicos. I mentioned Bermuda, Aruba, Curacao. Oh, it's once you look back, there's so many wonderful ports that we have visited. So if you've been there, leave a comment. Just so many things you can collect when you're on cruises. Some folks do shot glasses, hats, so many different things. So what I recently got into is ship models. So, whenever I get on a ship I've never been on, I run to the gift shop, grab a ship model, and a lot of times they go on sale, so they're about $40. That was the Firenze. This is the Miracle ship model. Try to get it in so you can see the Miracle. And then here's one for the XL class ship, the Mardi Gras. One of my favorite ships. This is the only XL class ship that I've been on, but the Mardi Gras is I love that ship. I can honestly say that. My wife, not so. Some folks don't care for the large ships because Carnival has a lot of them coming out. But the one that are out now is Mardi Gras, um, Celebration, and the Jubilee. So one is out of Texas, is dedicated to Texas, and that's the Jubilee. And then the Celebration is out of Florida, and the Mardi Gras, it it moves around. It's in Florida, but beautiful, beautiful ship. When we were on there, I don't think it was full, but there was a lot going on. There was Mardi Gras happening, Valentine's Day, and Super Bowl. So it was three major events during this cruise. And so there was a lot of activities that were happening during that week. But because the ship was so big, I didn't feel like it was crowded because, for one, they got so many bars and so many theme bars that the people were able to spread out because these bars were in different locations. My favorite one was the Brass Magnolia. So you'll get a lot of um, New Orleans type drinks, French type theming. The Fortune Teller, they have their own special drinks. They had the Alchemy. They had so many different bars if you're into drink, and that spreads the people out throughout the ship, and they're not just coming to one bar because the bars that I mentioned, um, they have their own specialty drinks that other bars didn't make. You know, like when you go on the traditional regular ships, you'll have your Red Frog Pub, and the Alchemy. You'll have, what's that other one? Red Frog. I can't think of the name right now, but they have those traditional bars. But when you get the XLs, they have way like four or five more themed bars. So it allows the people to spread out and not just be on the Lido per se, ordering drinks. So yeah, so the Mardi Gras was another one. The Pride ship model is, let's see if I can get it. I don't know if it's showing well, but that one is the Pride. So it's so many. Oh, here's the Panorama ship model. So it's so many different. This is what I'm into right now. There we go. You can see the Panorama. So there's another item that I collect, but I just wanted to take this time to thank you for watching. If you're watching this in the new year, Happy New Year. And you can leave a comment if you had any questions about which what's a certain cruise ship like, or a certain port. Since this was a theme, I can probably most likely answer it because we've been to a lot of these ports multiple times, and you know, there's so many changes. There's so many changes to these ports, like the Bahamas, Dominican Republic at Amber Cove. They're improving it, and what you're noticing is with a lot of cruise lines is that they're leaning more towards their private islands. And on this last cruise on the Vista, we experienced that firsthand. We went to Celebration Key for the first time, and it was great. But I think because I was recording for the channel, be sure to look for those videos coming soon of Celebration Key. Half Moon Key was their other port. It was nice. I liked it, but Celebration Key is nice. But let me just get to the point. A lot of these cruise lines are selling to their private islands, and it can be great if you're a beach lover. It can be not so great if you're trying to learn about the particular island. They have excursions, but it's taking you away from actually interacting with the people. Because when you're going to these private islands, they're taking away the actual ports. So um, I it just depends on what type of person you are. And so, in Cozumel, Carnival announced they're building a new area. Soon as you arrive in Ensenada, you would walk through. Once you get past the cruise ship security port, you're in Ensenada. So everybody knows they can see these huge cruise ships in port. And once you come out of that secured zone, they're there. They know they're gonna make some money some way, somehow. So they have the Senior Frogs, Margaritaville, depending on where you're at, Cozumel or whatever Mexican port that you're at. But they're trying to make these like private destinations within the location that they're visiting. Like I said, in Ensenada, where you get off the ship, they'll have zip lines, they'll have shops, trinkets, and instead of it being the traditional where the natives of that area are selling their wares, they vet who will sell their wares in this secured area. And their point and there is to not make the cruise passenger feel intimidated or have to deal with aggressive salespeople. It's more of a normal shopping experience. If you buy something, it's fine, great. If you don't, nobody's hassling you or giving you a hard time not buying stuff. And a lot of these ports, because of that aggressive sales pitch for tours or selling their wares, a lot of people will stay on the ship. And so they're studying all this. So they wanted to do something where people who want to get off the ship will, and they'll feel safe. Let's just say that. A lot of the ports are safe, but some ports are a little bit more risky if you get too deep. It depends on your comfort level. So yeah, so Carnival's building one in Cozumel. They're building these private islands, and Carnival's latest one is Celebration Key. So they're taking away when you're booking your cruise, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for beach activities, they got plenty of those. But you're starting to notice that if you want to learn about the history or if you want to venture out more and do other things besides drinking, there you have to look through the itinerary of what you're booking to make sure it's not just going to the private islands. So keep that in mind. All right, folks, this was the first live. I I had a great time, and I know I'll be doing more in 2026. But this was great. This was fun. I enjoyed it. So if you're watching it later, If you have a question, leave one. Um, I will read them. I love reading the comments. And until next time, happy cruising and happy new year. See you next time, folks.